21. I mean,
21.
Awooga.
Oh. I've been practicing that to myself for like the past 5 days. I've been doing the owa owa under my breath while I do chores, and it's made me feel like a crazy person.
Oh my god.
I gotta get out of quarantine soon.
I mean, me and my fiance's way of communicating is meh, meh. So it's pretty normal.
Trouble's getting it in, my guy.
That reminds me, Sophie, when we get married, just a heads up, I don't know why I do this or when it started, but I'll just start doing like movie dialogues to myself while I do like laundry and stuff. I've gone on record as doing the entire Iron Man script. For the first Iron Man movie script by myself.
I'm completely okay with that.
I mean, Six once did the B movie script by herself, so you know.
Stop! No! Why would you tell people?
Do you guys remember that Tumblr post that was just like, I want to test out Tumblr's new messaging system. I have the entire B movie copied and pasted in the next, and the person they were talking to was just like, please don't.
Please don't.
All right. So, back at it again at Krispy Kremes.
As if. I don't think I've ever seen a Krispy Kreme shop over here.
It's weird.
I have.
It's weird.
Oh.
It's like stepping into a 40s diner in the 21st century.
Oh. Neat.
Except minus the racism.
Would you notice, Connor?
In America, not really.
Guys, look. It's Dhuur'in.
Yeah.
He has little crystals.
Dhuur'in's final form for a pillow.
Maybe. We'll see.
You never know.
This is also Dhuur'in, in memory of sleep.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm probably just gonna stop sleeping and start doing trance.
All right. So, we left off with just kind of, we already decided what everybody was going to kind of split off and do. So, is there anybody who kind of wants to go first, I guess? We have Nox tending to some business. We have Oz heading down to the docks, and Sophie not enjoying whatever she's drinking, apparently. And we have Gesh and his power bottom going on a little shopping trip.
Dhuur'in is the top.
No. I'm DM. I say what goes.
You didn't even read my fanfiction.
Yeah, you don't get to decide if you don't read it, Connor. This is how it works.
All right. So, who wants to go first? Because we're gonna say this is all kind of like happening at the same time, but obviously I can't narrate all of these at the same time because I'm not a fourth dimension being, but
let's all roll a d20 per group, and whoever rolls the highest can go first.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Gesh, do you want to roll, or do you want me to roll?
I'll roll.
Okay.
Oh, well, there we go.
I rolled 5, so.
I got 11.
I got a nat 20. I got a 1 on the other thing.
All right. So,
so Ozla wins the game immediately, and
mine's heavy though.
Out of nowhere, you guys watch as her eyes turn white. She plunges a hand into the ground and pulls Ukatoa out and just snaps it back.
We're done here.
No, but okay. So Ozla, you said you wanted to head back down to the Lockwood district, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, making your way through the town once more. Again, it's kind of a very long walk, but for someone with your barbarous constitution, it's no problem whatsoever. You know, you run this distance and have barely broken a sweat. But as you're kind of as you're kind of like making your way through, and it starts to give way from kind of the early afternoon to that kind of time that borders between the afternoon and the evening, you see that people are sort of like packing up their booths. All the merchants are kind of putting their wares away, and businesses are still open, but there's kind of less foot traffic in the town at this point. But eventually you are able to make your way down to the Lockwood district once more. So what exactly are you doing?
Pardon you.
I want to go talk to the half-orc.
Okay.
I don't know her name anymore. It's gone.
I forgot to write the name down too. Vinn.
To Vinn? I mean, it's not a hard name to write down, Connor. So I mean,
Gorda.
What?
Gorda.
Gorda. Thank you.
Oh, I wrote Gornak.
I think that's a Fallout character, Gordak the Barbarian. But yeah, so you're looking for Gorda then.
Yeah.
Okay. Fortunately, she's not hard to pick out amongst the sailors, kind of the sailors and the dock workers, kind of making their way up and down the docks. She's a very tall woman with green skin, and she seems to be like one of the only half-orcs around. And when you do finally spot her as you come down the stairs, you see that she's like single-handedly coiling up one of those huge like trawler ropes and kind of like stacking it up. And she's kind of got her sleeves like pulled up to the rest of her outfit, so she can kind of get the work done a bit easier.
Ozla's gonna approach her. And sorry, I'm looking at the map right now. Okay, Ozla's gonna approach her, and she sort of, as close, whatever she can reach, so probably like her hip or something, she's just gonna like tap it like really lightly, as like she can manage at least.
Given her height and yours, you come up to her hip, so like you reach up and tap her side, and she kind of like pauses and turns and doesn't see anybody at first, but then looks down. She says, "Oh, it's one of the boat thieves. How can I help you?"
We're technically not fit. Whatever. So I'm not gonna be long. I just wanted to ask you a question about the lock. The lock comes in from what I remember, it's not the Lucidian Sea, but it's part of the sea, isn't it? It comes in from the southwest part of the sea?
I don't know much about geography, but that sounds about right.
Alright. Have you had any, given the way it is, have you had anyone come through here that's a bit strange? That hasn't come through the town border?
Get plenty of strange folk. You got anything more specific?
I can't. It's you know when you see them. It's maybe you've seen a very tiny gnome who wears a long black jacket, green sleeves, a little bit on the crazy side.
I haven't seen anybody like that. Plenty of gnomes around here. One of them runs Burnished Bibber lots, but haven't seen any gnome like that.
Yeah, no, he's not stable to run a store. Have you seen any Dragonborns? Other than the guy I was with. One of them looks like him, but doesn't act like. It's a weird thing. But have you seen two of those?
Plenty of Dragonborn come through here. Plenty of Dragonborn live here. Are you looking for another blue one, like your friend over there, or?
Sort of. I'm not sure if she would have stayed long.
Well, we did have a blue Dragonborn a while ago, but he was a fella, you see, and he was just a traveling peddler, so probably not the one you're looking for. Apologies.
Did he wear Did he have a frying pan?
Frying pan. Not that I remember.
Alright, one more. Have you seen a tiefling come through here? An old one.
Tiefling. Sex.
Uh,
So old.
I will admit, tieflings are a rare sight in Trostenwald. There's plenty
Can
in
he come up from...
there's plenty in the Empire proper, but I know a couple shopkeepers who are tieflings. But what color was he?
Purple. He's got long black hair. He usually wears a very funny in like 3 points.
No.
It was a long guess. I mean, there's no way. Yeah, this is too far. It doesn't matter. Thanks for indulging me. Is that the word? I don't know if that's the word.
It's no problem, and I'll keep my eye out. If I see something, I'll let you know.
Okay. She like flaps her hand at her and she goes to like wave goodbye, and then she turns to walk away, but as she does, she sort of like, she remembers as she turns and she says, "By the way, sorry for stealing your granddad's ship."
It's all right. You actually brought it back in pretty good condition. I was actually surprised when I found the ropes coiled up properly and the hooks all back in the positions. Do you do this a lot?
Yeah, I used to be a sailor.
How about that? Well, hope you find what you're looking for.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's use it. And then she just runs.
Okay, so, is that all you were looking to do, Ozla? Or?
Yeah, that's what I was looking to do. I wanted to know.
Okay. Nox. Sorry. Nox, Fenkin, and Gesh, roll off for me, would you? D20.
I think Nox rolled a 5. I think Gesh rolled an 11. I don't know what Fenkin rolled.
What'd you get, Fen?
6.
Okay. All right. Gesh and Dhuur'in.
Book day!
What are you guys doing?
Yes, I grabbed Gesh by the arm while we were all discussing what to do and said, I want to go look for book. I am looking up at him expectantly.
It's just like, okay.
Please, sugar daddy.
I don't have any money.
Does Gesh have any money?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Gesh bought him that dark shard amulet, remember?
No, I bought the Dark Shard amulet for myself. And I bought half of Nox's Courage of the Rose.
Yeah.
So that's why I have no more
He's really
money.
been the sugar daddy of the party.
And I bought everybody that first bathhouse trip.
Yeah.
All right.
And now I have 3 gold and 2 copper.
So you guys are going to go do some shopping then. All right. So I'm assuming then you want to go to Burnished Bibelots.
Burnished Bibelots.
So asking around town, you're eventually able to find somebody who's willing to talk to a glowing-eyed Drow and his giant seeming Dragonborn bodyguard. Eventually, you are able to get the 411 on the shopping of. Oh my God, Trostenwald. I'm so sorry. And in what district is Bibelots in? Hang on. I believe it was the Hillward? No, it was the Northward. Okay. You're eventually able to find that in the Northward district of Trostenwald, in kind of like the southern portion. where it borders the Lockward and the outskirts of the markets. There is a small shop, kind of looking more like a storage shed that's kind of been like bolted onto another building. Made out of driftwood is a shop called Burnished Bibelots. And making your way inside doesn't seem like very well kept shop. There's very clear kind of water damage, and where Pumet's Soul shop was very neatly organized, this place kind of seems like it has its wares kind of haphazardly kind of like thrown on to the shelves without any kind of like real sense of organization or anything like that. There is a clear section for like books and a clear section for trinkets, but beyond that, all the shelves kind of seem like to be very, very disorganized, very haphazard. And the store itself seems kind of very small and cramped, and also feels very cold and smells a bit mildewy. And in certain places on the carpet, as you guys walk, there's kind of an audible squishing sound.
Gross.
It's like home.
Most of the
No.
most of the windows are kind of like blocked out with different items kind of like piled up in a big crammed mess. But it seems like for buying and for selling, this is kind of like not a general store, but just kind of like a general knick-knack shop, you know? And as you guys make your way inside, you see what appears to be a very crotchety old gnome with kind of like a plume of white hair at the top of a very wrinkly head, just sort of like kind of pawing around one of the piles and kind of just pushing things up onto a shelf. And when it falls down, he like catches it and like pushes it back up and kind of like smacks it into place to kind of keep it in place. He turns to face you when he hears like the squishing beneath of what carpet there is, and you see a big bulbous round nose and white facial hair of a very old gnome. And he kind of cocks his head. He's like, "You here to buy?"
Potentially.
All right. Don't go knocking anything over. If you find anything interesting, just come find me. I'll be at the desk. And you watch as he kind of like puts his hands behind his back and kind of like hobbles over to the desk and pulls out what appears to be kind of like a ledger book of some kind and starts to like write in it with a white quill. But yeah, as it stands, you guys are free to start shopping around. Is there anything specific you're looking for?
A couple things maybe. First, I see that this is probably not a very well-rounded bookstore.
No,
but I want to see if there is any general book about gods, or maybe anything in Undercommon.
All right. So, unfortunately, you don't really find anything in Undercommon, which kind of makes sense in a Dwendalian-controlled city. But there are a few very sparse kind of like scholarly textbooks on the approved worship of the gods of approved worship within the Empire. You also give me an investigation check.
Oh, shit. That's my dice fell.
What?
My dice fell.
Oh, okay.
That'll be an 8.
Okay. So, Dhuur'in, Gesh, can you also give me an investigation check, buddy?
I mean, sure. Why not?
I still have hold of Gesh's arm.
It's just getting tighter and tighter. Like, I want to go look. I want to go look.
13.
13. Okay. So, as you guys kind of start picking around the shelves, Gesh, a particular novel kind of like catches your eye. And as you pull it off the shelf, you read on the front cover in kind of like faded gold leafing, the title of the novel, which is A Flight of Fancy. And as you kind of like pull it, as you kind of open it up to start skimming through the pages, you find that it's, for lack of a better term, an erotic novel about
No.
about a young half-orc woman who falls in love with a winged tiefling after he takes her for a flight around around a mountain close to her home, and it's actually very well written. It's a very good story, and but when it really gets into the naughtier bits, you're just like, okay, all right, that goes on for 8 pages. That goes on for 10 pages, 16 pages. Okay.
Jesus.
And as you're flipping through it, Dhuur'in, you do eventually see Gesh with this not quite scholarly looking tome in his hands.
What are you reading? Let me see.
No. It's fine. He
I
holds
want
it
to
up.
see.
He holds up away from Dhuur'in.
I
No,
want
it's
to
fine.
see it.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I hop.
It's nothing. It's nothing.
Not looking up from his ledger book, the gnome is just like, don't break the merchandise, please.
Will not be broken. Let me see the book. I was never allowed to read.
What? What do you mean? You weren't
Let's do
allowed
it.
to read?
I was never allowed to read. Let me see it. I can read now.
You can read now.
All it cost me was my soul.
A little bit of it. I'm hopping and reaching.
It's not very scholarly.
I still want to see it.
It's fiction.
What fiction?
It's made up.
I want to read stories.
Fine, but if you don't like it, that's on you.
Okay. I pick it up. I flip through it.
You also read the similar things that Gesh was reading, but I'm assuming you're kind of like going more in depth than like a skim. Again, very well written story, and the romance to it is very, not so much a slow burn, but plenty of burn, plenty of that, and you find, possibly to your delight or not, I'm not sure what Dhuur'in's into, the erotic scenes go on for quite a bit, and eventually, like, you kind of like, to experiment, you kind of pinch in your fingers the portions of the book that are like erotically charged, and you find it takes up like a good third of the book.
I go,
Perfect.
oh. I snap the book closed and I hand it back to him and say, thank you. Very unfazed.
You're welcome. And he just puts it back where he found it.
All right. So I'll say after another like hour or so of searching, you are eventually able to find a textbook on the gods that are worshipped within the Dwendalian Empire. And it's titled very simply Theocracies of the Dwendalian Empire by by Professor Urgosh Vesh.
No.
And it's essentially, it's like if somebody took the Bible in real life and kind of like broke it down into more of a like, more like a logical understanding of the stories of the gods and like what they represent, So it tells you, it gives you a very brief rundown of the Great Calamity and how the gods are barred from the world behind Eternity Gate, and each god kind of has its own chapter, especially and all the chapters of the gods kind of define what the gods are, what each god is about, and also kind of talks about the different theories and ideas and philosophies that many people across the empire have about the gods. But yeah, so you're able to find yourself a good old meaty textbook of information.
Is there stuff about Paylor and the Allhammer in there?
Absolutely. Those are two. It has all the gods that are approved within the Dwendalian Empire. Which, hang on, let me see. Let me pull out my notes. Let me get that up. Give me a second. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, so the gods approved for worship in the Dwendalian Empire are Bahamut, Arathis, Iyun, Moradin, Paylor, and the Raven Queen.
Oh.
Okay.
And all of these gods kind of like go by different names. Moradin is better known to the Empire at large as the Allhammer, and Paylor is known better as the Dawnfather.
Okay. Good. I have my book. I go up to the shopkeep and I put the book on the counter.
All right. So the shopkeep, whose name is let me pull it back up. There we go. Oglin Hornsblower, which is displayed proudly upon his desk. He looks up at you at the counter and says, "Is this all you're getting?"
Yes.
All right then. And he kind of takes the book, picks it up, sniffs it. Call that 2 gold.
Okay. I pull out my coin purse. I empty it in my hand. 3 gold and 2 copper. I take 2 gold. And I give it to him.
Kind of like eyeballing you, he takes the gold and like looks at it and bites it and kind of like taps it against the counter. And he's like, "All right, enjoy." And he pushes the tome towards you.
Thank you. Also, are you very knowledgeable about the books that you keep?
I try to catalog what I can, what comes through here, but I don't do much reading myself.
I see. You would not know much of a book if I showed it to you.
It depends on the book.
I will pull the Sin of the Lion and the Virtue of the Viper out. Hold it up, showing him the cover.
Do you know anything of this piece?
It's been a while since we haven't a clean book come through here. May I see it?
Yes.
He picks it up, opens it. It's a joke, right?
I was just asking.
Why would you bring in a book that's blank?
I was just asking.
And he closes the book and pushes it towards you. Right. You have a good day now.
I put it back in my bag. I take the book that I bought from him. I look at Gesh, very distressed. I want to leave.
Okay, we'll go.
And I grab his arm and we leave.
As you leave, he says gay rights. He watches you guys kind of like interlink arms, and he's like, "I don't judge." All right. Is that all? Is that all the shopping you wanted to do, Gesh and Dhuur'in, or is there somewhere else you wanted to go?
Unless Gesh wanted to go somewhere.
Gesh doesn't need to go anywhere. It's fine.
He has all he needs with Dhuur'in.
Hey, whatever. Anyway.
Notice how he didn't deny it. Anyway. All right. So, Nox rolled a 5?
Yeah.
Well,
And Fenkin,
I'm last. Yeah, I'm last.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I got a
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. So, how do I want to do this? So it's
Here.
Fenkin, Borgub, Nilo, and Princess who are heading down after asking around town for directions. Because this is the first time that both of you have been in Trostenwald, I'm assuming. Asking around town, and once again finding it difficult to find people who want to talk to you, considering that you have a panther with you. You are eventually able to find directions to the Warm Dew Bathhouse, which is also in the northward district as you exit the Lockward, and not nearly as big or as lavish as the bathhouse was in Zadash. This one does seem like a bit homelier and a bit more like folksy in its design. Almost like it's more of a themed bathhouse than anything else. But as you make your way inside, there's kind of like a young fellow with mousy brown hair at the desk. And as soon as he sees you, he gets up and he seems to be wearing like this long kind of like nice white linen robe, and he's like, hello, sirs. Hey, can I assist you in any way? Are you looking to take a wash?
Can I? It's hilarious that we're 4 characters and you all play 3 of them, Connor.
Yeah, hilarious.
DMing.
He has been walking a bit like slowly. He doesn't feel well. He feels dizzy and tired and cold, shivering. But as soon as he steps into the bathhouse, and I guess he can almost smell like if there's any like soaps or just cleanliness in general. You just feel it in the air, and he immediately brightens up a little bit. Looks a little bit more energized. So he walks up to the person who addressed him, and he says, "Yes. Is animals allowed?"
The bathhouse itself has the air itself is even in the lobby is still like a lot warmer and a lot more humid than it is outside, but like a nice bearable kind of warm and humid, and there is kind of like a nice floral scent that wafts through the air. But the boy, not the boy, the guy kind of like looks at you all, you who are relatively clean, Borgub who is smeared in blood, Nilo, who is a panther, and Princess, who is a raccoon, who kind of like waves, and he's just like, well, they seem tame enough, so I don't see why not.
Good. Then yes, we would like, as you said, a wash.
Excellent. We don't exactly have a selection of soaps dedicated to your 4-legged customers, but I'll see what I can do. In any case, we can also have your clothes washed if you wish.
Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. About an hour's time in the bath itself is about 7 silver pieces, and a wash is going to be 4 gold pieces. 4 silver pieces per outfit. If you wish to have them washed, all you need to do is take to the locker rooms and have your clothes laid out, and our attendants will see to them.
He takes a look at Borgub, eyes him from head to toe, and says, 2 outfits washed. It will be then.
Excellent. And will you be bathing together, or would you like to use the Public Springs?
Is there a more private one for the 4 of us?
There is, yes. We have the. There is, yes. We have the lavender room, which is sort of partially a sauna with a pool within it as well. Perfectly small enough for a group of 5, so I can have that ready for you whenever you are.
Yes, that sounds good.
Excellent. So that's going to be, and you just wished for an hour, correct?
Yes.
Oh, very well. In that case, that's going to be 7 silver pieces for the bath, and that's going to be 8 silver pieces for the outfits.
All right. He pulls out his very, 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 very heavy coin purse. Could you?
Oh,
What is the
okay, I see
total?
how it is.
What?
What? What's wrong, Ethan?
Next. Yeah, you just want to lord over how much richer you are than the rest of us, huh? Okay. See how it is.
Stop sugar daddying your drow boyfriend and maybe you'll have some coins.
He hasn't! He literally hasn't! Oh, so, yeah.
He smashed Darren's coins out of the woman's hand to put his own coins in them.
Gesh, if you want Gesh to be Fenkin's sugar baby, you just have to ask.
So, anyway, Fenkin, as you go to pull out your coin purse, you suddenly see Borgup step up, and he says, will this do? And you watch as he kind of fumbles on his belt, and from a leather pouch, he pulls out what appears to be a beautifully cut gem that's just like almost like just polished glass. It's about a small diamond, roughly the size of like half your palm, and he pulls that out, and walking up to the counter, he kind of has to reach up and place it on top and kind of like slide it towards the attendant, whose eyes widen at it, and he says, is that going to be enough? The attendant, then he's just like, I see. Perhaps instead of the lavender room, you would prefer the tulip room, which has, of course, complimentary drink and food services.
Fenkin is at all with this whole situation, and he almost wants to stop him before he realizes that that's very out of character for him. So, and it's like,
When Fenkin just goes, oh, that's too OOC. I can't do that.
exactly. He's just like, sure.
Excellent. And he picks up the jewel, inspects it, and kind of like pockets it in his robe. If you wish, you may head to the locker room of the fuck. Did I say the golden? I said the golden room, right?
You said tulip.
The tulip. You may head to the locker room, the tulip room. It's the 4th door down on the left-hand hallway. Again, just leave your clothing out, and we will have those washed within the hour.
All right, let's go. He says to Borgup, and then he starts heading down the hallway.
Okay. Thank you. And he bows, and he's quick to turn around and follow you guys. Nilo and Princess kind of following quickly along. And so you guys are going down the hallway, right? All right. So heading down the directions given to you by the attendant, who has taken the gem out and is now like looking at it again, kind of like smiling to himself. You follow the hallway down and to the right, and you kind of enter into the tulip room is labeled with kind of like this wooden marker outside that has kind of like stenciled on it a rendition of a purple lavender colored tulip, and outside there's basically 2 doors that rest between that. One of them is labeled storage, and one of them is labeled bath.
Were they gonna undress and leave the clothes in the store? Where were they gonna leave the clothes now then?
Well, I'm assuming you guys go into storage first. So basically, once you step into storage, you see that it's like it's hard to explain out loud, but these 2 rooms are kind of like connected. Like here's the door, here's the rooms, and here's like another door that kind of connects the 2 rooms on the inside. So as you step into storage, there seems to be kind of like a bench with a pair of baskets on it, and kind of like hooks on the walls and whatnot, and kind of like a few shelves where boots and things can be placed. But next to the hooks on the walls, there's also a steamed up door that kind of leads into the tulip room bath itself. And Borga kind of like looks around and says, "Well, looks like I won't be needing my hat. That's good at least." And he pulls that off and is a goblin once more.
Don't worry. If anyone walks in, I will hold your head under the water.
That
Don't worry, I'll just drown you.
I've actually learned how to hold my breath for up to a minute.
Oh my god.
He almost reached out to pat his head, but then he remembered in the very last second that no, Fenkin, you don't do that shit, and then he pulls it back.
His bald little head.
You're just like, oh. And then I guess they're in the storage now, so he starts undressing. He starts removing his clothing.
So as you undress, Nilo
Ooh.
kind of like slinks into the room, kind of like sniffing at things as Princess kind of like hops off and starts like rummaging around as well. You do find some kind of like fresh scented towels ready for you to go when you get undressed to wrap around you. Borgub at some point very politely asks you to turn around while he undresses. And you can see that, again, his face is like totally purple. But eventually, with towels around your waist, you guys are ready to head into the bath.
He took off everything except for his wolf fang necklace and his circlet, and then he wears the towel and enters the bath. Yes.
All right. Borgub follows along, kind of like taking off his heavy leathers, and surprisingly, the half plate, the burnished half plate that rests underneath, which kind of like falls into the basket with a very audible sound, very heavy, very thick. But as he gets fully undressed, you see that there's kind of like these blue dwarven runic tattoos that kind of like start at the shoulder and stylistically kind of jut this way and kind of down a bit. They're very similar to a lot of kind of like more angular Viking raccoons, very regular Viking tattoos that you see sometimes. And for a moment, you're kind of like reminded of Karn in a way. And you also, as this is happening, he gets undressed and puts the towel around him, and it looks like he's about to leave the hat before like gingerly picking it up and tucking it under his arm, looking at you just like, better safe than sorry.
Yes, that seems like a good idea. He says after he looked him over up and down in interest, just noticing the rooms with a bit of curiosity, before saying that.
Okay, well, let's go take a bath. I'm actually really excited. I've never been to a bathhouse like this before.
Oh, you're gonna like it.
All right. So, pulling the door open, I feel like I've done a lot of fan service in the past few months. Pulling the door open into the tulip room proper, just as the attendant kind of described, it's this wider kind of like 20 by 20 sauna room with kind of like wooden benches set up against kind of cream colored walls for you to sit on when you want to just get a nice steam going. But another half of the room seems to be dedicated to this kind of like lowered pool of water that has natural heat kind of like rising up from it. And you see that different like herbs and kind of like flower petals have been kind of sprinkled into the water and are kind of floating across the surface, which is almost completely like a pane of glass because it's so still and gentle. But immediately disturbed as Princess suddenly splashes right into the water, followed by Nilo, who like slinks in, scratches his neck, and then just kind of like gets into the water, displacing quite a bit of it before like you see his panther body disappear beneath the waves and just his head kind of like bobbing above the water. And you hear a very low, deep purr that just booms through the room.
Fenkin doesn't mind at all when it comes to animals. He's very different to animals than he is to people. So he just kind of he looks at them, and there's actually an unusual soft look on his face. He is back in his like relaxed state that he's aware is. And he just immediately hurries his steps a bit as he walks inside, and he starts to, if there's like buckets to rinse before you get into the pool, he'll do that first to rinse off, with most of the dirt or sweat or something. So he'll sit down on like a stool and do that first.
They do have those. The room is well equipped with. There's kind of like a bucket of soap powder that's kind of put up next to, up against the rim of the bath. And how that works is it can be poured in to make the water naturally soapy, or you can just kind of like dip your hand in there, dip your hand in the water, get that all sudsed up, and start like bathing yourself. But yeah, there is a stool and buckets of cold water for you to kind of like give yourself a good rinse off before you go in. And Borgub kind of like watches you and sits down next to you and kind of like copies your movements a bit hesitantly at first to make sure he's like doing it right. And not expecting the cold water, he like dumps it on himself and jolts, and he's just like, I hope the water's warm.
Maybe you should rinse again.
Probably, yeah. He picks up another bucket, just more hesitantly this time, just
Well, yeah, you hit him, like, normally he's not phased at all by cold water, but he's already a bit chilled and not feeling too well, so he's, like, shivering a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as he stands up, he's sort of holding around himself, rubbing up and down his arms as he walks up to the pool and dips his toes in.
All right. So, do you remember the bath you took in, I believe it was Allfield? Allfield, there's a dash. This is even better. The water is way hotter because it's a natural spring and not like water that had to be boiled beforehand and poured in. This is good shit. This is very good shit.
Fenkin lets out an audible sigh. He's like, as he like moves to step into the water and like sink down and let the water reach up to like his shoulders.
All right. So as you kind of like sit down and kind of lean up against a rock, Princess floats by on his back, kind of like chewing on a flower petal, almost like an otter a bit. And eventually Borgub does join you. He kind of like, instead of putting a toe in, he kind of like leans down and like palms the water. And eventually kind of like swings around to slowly dip himself in. And at first he has trouble finding the bottom because he's short, but he does kind of find a part that juts out that he's able to sit down on, and it comes up right to his chin as he sits down. But you watch as like his entire body kind of like unclenches, and you can tell that this, you being you can tell that this is the first time that he's done this in a while, and it seems to shock him as well as his eyes go wide, and then suddenly he like closes them as he relaxes into the heat of the water. And he's like, that's really nice. That's really, really nice.
Fenkin is sort of like slowly washing up his arms and like a little bit with his hair, and he looks at him and smiles and says, finally, comrade sensible enough to enjoy this.
I don't see how you couldn't enjoy this. This is really nice. And he kind of like, feeling how soapy the water is, he also kind of like does his best to bring an arm up and wash it. And Fenkin, you see now that his arms are free of the big heavy gloves that he usually wears, his hands are very scarred and calloused. There's plenty of burn marks that just cover the green flesh all over to make this kind of like tissuey scar flesh. They're not very pretty hands, to say the least, given how much damage they seem to have accrued. But he is very visibly enjoying the bath and enjoying the feeling of being clean. And he's just like, we had springs like this in Craghammer, but they weren't this nice.
Yes, I was not expecting this kind of quality. when we entered this bathhouse.
Princess floats by again, this time with a different flower petal.
I want Fenkin to reach out and gently like spin him a little circle.
So you take one little raccoon paw and you just kind of woo, and Princess, not at all caring, just goes along with it and just fucking in the water. Nilo at this point is just kind of like swimming back and forth like a caged lion, but a caged lion who's very much enjoying his cage.
He is enjoying his playtime with Princess. Give him a little spin, and then he watched him spin around, and he actually breaks out like a little chuckle because he's actually really relaxed. And then he sighs again, and he leans back, and then is silent for a little while before looking down at Borgup again and just kind of watching him and the scars on him. And he thinks before speaking rather hesitantly and saying, judging by what I already know, you have not been treated too kindly, have you?
And he's kind of stops mid-Beth. Oh, no, you and Mr. Gesh and everybody have been very kind to me. I don't. And he kind of like sees where you're staring, and he looks at his hands and he realizes, oh, no. These, I'm a blacksmith, you see, and this just kind of happens over the years. I've grabbed plenty of hot metal, and I've gotten a few burns, but you know, even the masters of smith work have hands like this. I mean, I'm no master, but
he narrows his elf eyes at him and scoffs a bit before saying, you do not have to talk about your past if you don't want to.
No, that's fine. What do you want to know?
He's quiet for a bit as in contemplating how to word what he wants to say. Because he's not the best with words.
I hadn't noticed.
And then he sort of like plays a bit with his hair in the water, and he goes, your race is not fondly looked upon. And that's all he says.
I suppose not. I will admit things were a bit safer for me in tal'dorei, and especially in Craghammer, where people knew me a bit better, but the Dwendalian Empire is... It's nice, don't get me wrong. I've met plenty of nice people, like Bryce, and you all, of course, but...
He flinches a bit at the mention of tal'dorei. Quite an obvious flinch, as he's not very good at hiding his feelings. And he furrows his brows a bit. So you could probably count on your fingers the amount of people you have met that have been pleasant to you. Am I right?
Fingers and toes.
Then how are you able to be so nice to people?
I'm sorry, but it's just like the Grinch in the Puppet Grinch movie, where he's just like, how can you be so delightful? Borga at that kind of pauses, and he's like, and he kind of takes a moment to think, as Princess kind of makes another spinning pass through the water, and he says, well, I'm a cleric, and I suppose being a cleric, especially of the Allhammer, means having faith. When I was a baby, I don't remember being around other goblins, because evidently I was found amongst a goblin raiding tribe that attacked a settlement near Craghammer, and the person who would be my mother found me there, and she took me home. She bathed me, she gave me clothes, she even made me a little crib to sleep in. I was just a goblin, just a little goblin, and she took the time to show me kindness. And then so did everybody else in Craghammer. I became one of them, honestly. A goblin in a city full of dwarves. Can you believe that? And I don't pretend to be... I don't know how to explain this very well. I apologize. I've never been really good with words, but when it comes to people, there's always a chance to be kind. No matter who it is, no matter how bad they may seem, no matter what they may have done in the past, there's nobody in the world, I think, who doesn't deserve to be loved, who doesn't deserve to be feel loved. That's just how things go. So, I guess that's why. I like to be kind to people because I like to be kind to people, because I feel it's a lot easier to be kind to someone than it is to be angry and mean and suspicious. So, for me, I guess it's just a way of giving back, you know? Showing people the kindness that I was shown.
Fenkin is quiet for a long time as he listens and shows some obvious reactions to certain words that he says, like when he says that there's nobody he doesn't deserve to be loved. You can see the surprise in his eyes as he contemplates over it, like he's never heard such words before. And then later his eyebrows furrow a bit again, and he sighs and leans his head back and stares up in the ceiling, and he says, I guess you and I are just too different of people.
There's a pause. I also think that you're kind in your own ways, Mr. Farwarin.
Me?
Well, yeah. I don't think an unkind person could get a panther to follow them. And at that, Nilo kind of like turns around, just like, and I mean, remember what you said on the boat about Miss Highhill? I don't think an unkind person would say things like that.
Well, I was insulting her for like 2 minutes, but
I spent plenty of time around dwarves. Trust me, I know that people can insult others and still love them.
love. Love? I think you're mistaken. You haven't been around me that long. You don't know what I'm like.
I suppose that's true. But even if it is only for a little while, I'm really glad to have gotten to know you, Mr. Farwarin. Stop tipping at a camera!
At that, he was in the middle of doing his usual bath motions, like washing or whatever, and then he just suddenly freezes. And then his ears turn red. And then his face turns red. And then he slowly sinks down until he's under the surface.
All So as you float down and eventually come up for air, Princess was in like the prime position to be just above your head. So as you come up, Princess kind of like blinks as he's lifted out of the water, and you now have a raccoon head.
He resurfaces with a scowl on his face, very guarded, very angry, even though he's still blushing very heavily. And he just grabs Princess and takes him down, and then sort of like hugs him to his chest and like angrily cuddles him.
Princess just like, what?
No, it's not that bad. You're dirty again. Come here.
As soon as he realizes what you're doing, he starts like clawing and thrashing at you, and Borga blinks and like kind of gets a little bit further away from you.
Stay still. This will be quicker if you're still. If only you could act more like Milo, this would be a lot more easier.
What?
If only you could act a bit more like Milo, this would be a lot more easier.
He's speaking some language that we can't understand.
Fenkin can understand if he wants to, but nah, he's not gonna bother. He's distracting himself by scrubbing him, and then finally, he doesn't really let him go until he's satisfied with him being clean. And then when he let him go, he's calmer and basically forgot all about the previous conversation.
All right. So, is there anything else you wanted to do in this bath, or that sounded really?
I think there are some things they could
Stop
do.
it! Stop it! Everybody, stop it! Stop it! Not what I meant.
There's plenty of things anyway you could do in that bath.
He could help scrub Borgup's back with like a little rag and just like scrubs him.
Oh, I mean, if you want to scrub his back, sure.
He said, go away.
And in exchange, once you guys are kind of like drying off and toweling off, Borgup will offer to put your hair into dwarven braids.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So he has you sit down, and he has to kind of like stand on a stool to like kind of get to your hair, and his 10-inch dick kind of hangs out of it. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Anyway, he's like, it takes like a good 15 minutes, and by the time he's done, these are very big, bulky braids in your hair, that in kind of like the dwarven style, that kind of like goes up from here all the way down in kind of like one long ponytail, made of just huge braids. But it's eventually kind of capped off with a nice, tight, neat little knot at the end. And the weight definitely feels a bit different on your head, especially since your hair is just not like free flowing, But it's definitely very well done. And at that point, you hear a knock on the door that says, "Excuse me, messieurs, you have about 10 minutes."
Fenkin flinches a little bit as he turns towards the door because he was lost admiring the braid. He was just like, "Oh, it's nice. No one has ever braided his hair before." And then when he hears the voice, he instinctively actually reaches out one arm to shield Borgup without even thinking too much about it. And then when he realizes there is no danger, he's just like, "Yes."
As you reach out a hand to block Borgup, you accidentally hit him, and he goes, "What?" and he falls back into the water.
You did say you put his head into the water.
Yeah.
He just goes up to the pool and he reaches down and he fishes him up. And then I imagine like maybe he's covered in like flowers or flower petals or something from the pool. Like he takes one off of him and he puts it in his own hair.
Oh. All right. So we will say that with that, you guys finish kind of drying off, and you kind of help Nilo towel off, and you kind of towel off Princess as well. And where Nilo's fur turns is still like nice and sleek, you towel off Princess, and it's just like. So it's just like, have you ever seen those dogs that are like a puffball with legs and a nose sticking out? That's kind of what Princess looks like right now. And as the door finally opens, and as eventually your clothes are kind of like, the door opens and your clothes are kind of like put into the bathhouse with all folded up nice and neat. And when you get dressed and you finally open the door, you look super heroic except for Puffball Princess, who just kind of like trundles along the hallway as you guys walk, newly cleaned, newly fresh, and probably a bit closer than you were at first.
Ooh.
Steps are a little bit lighter, and he took the chance to put a lot of flowers in his hair, and he's thriving. He just feels good.
All right. So, finally, moving on to Opportunity Knocks.
Yay!
What did you say you were doing?
Sorry?
What did you say you were doing?
She is gonna go do what she failed to do earlier, which was secure a room and board.
I mean, she failed to secure cheese, but...
That's true. She also
No, she secured the cheese. They just found her with it. So.
I've realized something. And the thing that I've realized is that they sent her, and she has like no money. She has 40 gold. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay. All right. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
So
we never said any of us were smart.
So the to you right now, the closest inn is called the old Mudhole Tavern.
Oh,
So-
Mudhole?
The old Mudhole Tavern, yes. That's
exciting.
and it's in the Lockward district, kind of like the poorer district of Trostenwald, but still it looks like a relatively nice place to stay. You know, far better than just camping out under the stars, even with a magical tent. And it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this small, dark, kind of like fishing longhouse style of bar. Kind of like a dive bar close to like a fishing town in the real world. And as you step inside, there seems to be plenty of space, and there seems to be only like 4 kind of like big dining tables where there's usually like smaller bar tables. But as soon as you open the door, shouting and screaming and cursing and laughing can be heard throughout the entire place, because it seems like you have just stepped right into a bar brawl.
Oh yeah.
All around you, you see that there are patrons of every shape and size, kind of like running about. You see 2 Crownsguard, kind of like one's on top of the other on a table, and he's just like punching him and sucking the other guy back and forth. There's a Halfling with a barrel kind of like on top of him, and he's like tipping it over and kind of drinking from it.
My bad.
At some point, you see a half elf kind of like fly through the air and kind of like sail through a window, and you hear the crashing glass as he kind of like torpedoes through. But yeah, it's just an absolute melee in this place.
Her ears go flat as she hears all of this. It's very overwhelming when you can hear as well as she can. And she briefly thinks about leaving, And then she pictures Fenkin staying in this place, and the mental image is so funny that she's like, nah, this is fine. This is perfect. She's like, this is going to be a great time. We're going to have a time.
She sees him in the hall felt that goes flying.
Yeah, she pictured that as being Fenkin, and it made her laugh. So she is going to kind of skirt her way around all of the commotion to try to see if she can spot someone who appears to be an innkeeper at the bar.
All right. So as you kind of like slink through the what space is available, you see that there's kind of like a big Dragonborn woman kind of like choking out a Crownsguard, and she sees you approaching and like politely steps back to let you through while still choking the guy. But you, thanks to your feline stealth and ability, you are able to kind of make it through unharmed. And as you get past kind of like the fighting patrons and the arguing and the shouting, you do see kind of in the back there's kind of a small bar with a few stools have been taken away, probably to be used as weapons in the fight. But
right.
You see what appears to be a very old and very tired looking dwarf, just kind of like tending to somebody who's passed out on the bar. He kind of like picks you see that they kind of passed out in their own vomit, so he kind of like picks their head up and turns them around so they won't drown. And he also like picks up their glass and puts a coaster under it and puts the glass back down. And he spots you approaching. He says, "Hey, lass, what can I do for you?"
She, her like ears keep like twitching back to all the noise because she can't help but be distracted by how loud it is. But she comes up to him. She puts her hands on the bar and kind of leans across so that she doesn't have to like scream to be heard, because I assume it's very loud.
It's very loud.
So she gets closer so that he can actually hear her and says, "What is your going rate for your rooms?"
He speaks up, "About 5 gold a night."
Okay, I have to do math. Hold on.
Oh no, math.
We got 2 rooms that have 2 beds and 3 more available rooms with single beds.
The rooms with 2 beds, are they the same price?
We'll say that's an extra 2 gold on top of those.
Okay, wait, I have to do math. I have to see if she can actually afford this or if she's going to have to pull some shit. She should be able to afford that, right? They're not saying that long.
As you guys are talking, a glass like... he says, "Duck," and you both duck, and a glass sails overhead and crashes against the wall behind you before you get back up. So it's just like, we'll say 2 gold, duck! 2 gold on top of that.
Just quick cat reflexes. She's like still like half crouching, just like looking around in alarm, trying to anticipate anything else being thrown at her. And then she says, she starts like reaching for her coin purse, and then she says, "Okay, I need," and she takes a second to start taking out gold. And then she says, "I want the 2 rooms with 2 beds for 2 nights."
All right, that'll work. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Math. 14. Okay, it's 14 a night for 2 rooms because there's 7 each.
Oh, thank Christ.
So it's 28.
Yeah, 28 gold. Thank you. Thank God Finn was there for me on that one, because we wouldn't here all damn day. Sorry, we said 28 gold, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He says, "All right, it's gonna be 28 gold, and hey!" He barks as a pair of Crownsguard come like tussling through, and one of them kind of like forces the other down on the bar, just kind of like slamming his head on the bar. And they both kind of look up when the dwarf starts yelling at them, and he says, "No rabbit punches." They both look at each other, and they nod, and they just keep going back to like thudding his head down on the bar.
Nox was in the middle of like starting to get out gold, and she pauses at this and stares for a second, and then looks back at the barkeep and says, "Do you need some help getting control in here, or is this normal?"
This happens every Monday. We get a bunch of the philosophers in Trostenwald coming in talking about politics, and then this happens. It'll usually die down in about 20 minutes.
That's very funny. I just like that that's the reason why this happens. She stares for a second at the Crownsguards that are just whooping ass.
Yeah. Basically, one Crownsguard has another by like the hair and is just like slamming his head down on the table.
She just looks at that for a couple of seconds and then looks back and says, "Even the guards?"
It's a day off.
Are they drunk or no?
Hard to tell, actually.
She just kind of nods, and again,
the guards stop, and the one that has his head being beaten against the bar looks at you with blood coming out of his nose. Been sober for 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
She is amused, if not slightly put off as well by what's going on here. And so she turns back and says, "Okay, 28 gold." And then she will rummage into her coin purse, takes out 20 gold, considers lying and saying that that's all she has, realizes that she really doesn't need to make any more trouble, and then gets out the rest of it, and she pushes the gold across the counter to him.
He collects it and says, "I'll get you the keys in a second. You want something to drink while you wait?"
An ale, please.
The guard is just like, "I recommend the light beer." I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Sorry, that's it. She said an ale.
Okay. All right. So taking the gold and quickly pouring you an ale and sliding it towards you, the dwarf kind of like disappears around the corner while the fight continues to ensue. And you see that even though he said it's going to be dying down here soon enough, it only seems to be getting worse and worse. Another person has gone through the same window, the same broken window, and at some point there's kind of like this big mounted elk head that's on one of the walls. Someone has been picked up and hung there by the collar, and he's just kind of like, if you turn to look at him, he's just like, "Hello."
Nox is starting to look slightly disgruntled because even for her tastes and what she's used to, this is a lot of bullshit, and she does want to eventually sleep in this place. So she looks back at the guy, kind of takes her ale and wraps her hands around it, and she says, "Is there anything that's going to make them stop?"
Probably more beer.
I don't think that would help the problem.
You're right. Can you help me down, please?
She sighs and goes over and stands on her tippy toes to try to reach him and get him down.
So we'll say that you get him down, and about 10 minutes passed, and things have finally actually petered out. It hasn't gotten like death quiet, and there's still a bit of arguing, but it seems like everybody's really tired of fighting. You look around the room and you see that the Dragonborn lady who was choking out the Crownsguard, now they're both like interlocked and just like very loudly making out with each other.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
Oh Christ in heaven.
the Crownsguard, the one who was on the table like punching the other one, and the Crownsguard that was like bashing the other one's head on the table, they're all like interlocked, like singing a drinking song as they walk out of the room, out of the bar itself. And while the place is kind of a mess with food and drink and plates kind of upturned and tables turned over, it is kind of like a merrier atmosphere than a meleeer atmosphere.
Hey.
But the dwarf does eventually come around with the keys, and he puts them on the table for you. And you have now procured some rooms in a very strange tavern of sorts. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say she's finished her ale by now, so she is pushing that empty bottle or empty glass back to him.
All right. Okay. So, is there anything else Nox wants to do right now, or
in the tavern?
Yeah.
Not at the moment.
All right. In that case, I will say that after about 30 minutes, everybody has, one by one, each group that kind of split off, with Ozla coming in first, kind of arrives at the tavern. Ozla, as you enter the tavern, hopefully with thoughts of Shimmer Stout in your head, dreams of Shimmer Stout, you open the door to what looks like a hurricane that has passed through the bar. You see people kind of like hanging over tables. You see a Dragonborn woman practically eating the face off of a Crownsguard as they very sloppily make out.
I think that he's dead.
The halfling who is drinking from the barrel, he's like inside it now, sleeping with his legs sticking out. The snores kind of echoing through the barrel, and you also see Nox at the end of the room, a fresh cup of ale in her hands.
I'm sorry, I got stretched. Not give me a minute. Okay. As Ozla walks in and she sees like a whole mess, she's a bit like impressed. She just looks around like just starstruck. And when she catches sight of Nox at the end, she sort of puts her hands on her hips and she's like, this.
Sorry, what did she say?
She went, did you do this?
Oh. Nox is kind of like reclining, kind of leaned back in her chair. Probably has her feet up on the table because she's like, fuck it. This place is a mess. I'm going to put my feet up on the table. Who's going to stop me? And she's in the middle of like taking a sip of her drink. So she finishes that and she looks up and raises a hand to Ozla in greeting and says, "This is normal, apparently. Don't worry about it."
Oh, I'm not worried. I'm fucking impressed. How did he get up there?
The guy was like...
he was put back up there.
Was eventually like put back up on the elk head by somebody, and he's just like, I don't remember.
She kind of, Nox waves a hand dismissively and says, at a certain point, he is just going to end up there again. I don't think there is a point in getting him down.
Every Thursday.
She sort of like laughs a little bit and she like gives him a wave. And as she like walks over and she sort of like settles up next to Nox or something, like any chair that's next to her, she probably pulls up and just clambers on. And she goes, well, it's probably a good thing you didn't do this shit, because I don't think we can fight another basilisk. I don't think they have a spare one. But
she kind of...
anyway, did we get any board? Any rooms?
She kind of laughs a little bit and she says, yes, 2 nights I thought would be suitable for us to finish our business and get our wits about us, as it were. 2 rooms should suffice.
Wait, 2 rooms?
Yes.
But there's 5 of us. Wait, 1, Gesh. Oh, I forgot Fenkin.
Oh no, there's 5 people in one bed. Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Like the old room.
Nox just kind of waves a hand and says, "There are 2 rooms in each bed. Or sorry, there are 2 beds in each room." She's had some ale. This is her second cup of ale. It's going downhill. There are 2 beds in each room. Half of you are bedfellows, so I assume that you don't mind sharing.
Bedfellows?
Oh.
Yes, the dark one and the lizard. I have no idea what is going on with you and the skinny one, but something is there.
I'll take to me. She's like, what? What did you say?
She just shrugs and says, "You wouldn't mind sharing a bed with him, no?"
I don't have a reply.
The drunk guy who's still there, still covered in his own vomit, he wakes up for a second. But that's hot.
I don't even know what these people look like.
Exactly.
That's fine. He doesn't need to. He can tell by description alone.
I was just like sort of like ripping the table, like when you're just like, what the fuck is going on? It's like gripping the table, and she's like, okay, I've slept next to Fenn before, but he snores, and I'm not into that. Okay, that's not mine. And I'll tell you, he doesn't snore, but he does. He's a fucking tractor.
Wow.
You.
Wow.
Wow. She shrugs a bit and says, "Well, if you prefer the dark one's screaming, then I suppose you can bed with him."
I think I kicked him in my sleep last time, so I don't think he wants to sleep next to me again. I can hang from the ceiling, like this guy. That'd be easy. I've done it before.
It's not
Just
my
points at the
choice.
dude.
Just points up to my mouse like next to him.
She looks up at the guy and then looks back to Ozla and says, "You would fall and break something."
I wouldn't break anything. I'm not that heavy.
In any event, I think 4 beds will be fine. We can figure something out. And worst case scenario, I will sleep on a bedroom.
Oh.
Oh no. Doxy Ox. What were you going to say, Connor?
Yeah,
so
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Eventually, no. If you guys have more, please continue. I love this.
Oh. No, go ahead.
Okay, so eventually the dwarf saddles up and he's like, "Hey, if you're waiting for the rest of your group, why don't I get something on the grill for you? Do you want something to eat?"
Do you have any shimmer stuff?
Shimmer stout. Aye, I think I got a better on the back, aye.
Can I have some shimmer stout, please, sir?
Well, aye, ma'am. And I'll leave a little menu for you as well. And he reaches down under the counter and pulls out like 2 kind of like parched paper menus and puts them out for you guys. And I'm very excited to actually have a menu scene because I looked through this book and there's actually food. So
Yay!
there's a bunch of different options. There's kind of like the standard stuff. You can get like dumplings and things like that. But you can also get stuff like Stelbraten, which is a Zemnian peasant dish of pickled horse meat served with cabbage.
Ooh.
There's Schweinax, a a peasant dish of long marinated roasted pork knuckle. There's their damp noodle, a regal steamed roll served in sweet custard or savory potatoes. There's spanferkel, which is an expensive...
Oh, he does have potatoes.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, you can just get potatoes too if you want to. But, yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff you can get.
Very fancy. What is the are prices listed? What is the price range of these items?
Everything is around 2 gold, except for like, the more expensive stuff and the stuff that's kind of like harder to make. That can range to be about like 5 to 3 gold.
Okay.
Yeah, but stuff like sauerbraten and the easier stuff, that's just a gold piece.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that Nox can afford it because she's running low on money.
Oh, you're running low on money? I have 1 gold and 2 copper.
That small amount of money has survived for quite a long time. That has gotten you through multiple cities at this point.
You are welcome. You are all welcome.
Fenkin has spent a single penny.
He's just a hoarder of money. Yeah, she is looking at the menu again, kind of like casually leaning back, maybe having her leg propped up on like an empty chair at the table or something. And after a couple of seconds of looking at the menu, without looking up, she says to Ozla, "So, how was your endeavor?"
My what?
Your errand, or whatever it is that you did.
It's fine. It didn't really amount to much, so it's fine. It was just like checking something.
Ah. You have business with someone in the city?
No, it's... Fuck. I had it in my head and it slipped out like a fucking...
No!
Sorry, that's me. I was just checking in case, because we're going to the coast and stuff, and we're finding my friend, and I just want to make sure he hadn't, like, slipped off anywhere. And Nicodranus and Port Zune are just underneath Port Damali, and I think that's where he is along the coast. And I didn't want to chance it that he'd... You can see him going with it, like he's like the little... I thought he might have come up here and run.
Sorry, I'm very excited for... Me, the player, is very excited for reasons, because I just wrote something into Nox's backstory that involves Nicodranus. Okay. Anyway, she kind of nods a bit. She has a slight furrow to her brow, just a small frown, and she says, I understand. In truth, I did come here early for reasons of securing board, but I also wanted to see someone in the city.
Who do you know in the city?
Not many people. It has been a long time since I've been even anywhere near this area of the country, but there is a old friend of mine who has been known to set up shop, as it were, in this area. I had no guarantee that he was even here, but I was interested to see if I could find him. And then she kind of pauses a little bit and she says, obviously I was interrupted.
Is he the reason you got put in jail?
No, that was genuinely the cheese.
Oh.
She just kind of laughs a little bit, and then she does look up from the menu to look at Ozla, and she says, "You know, for someone as forward and brash as you are, you have a great many secrets. Have one."
Ooh.
Do you want?
Do you?
I don't know. I haven't really been keeping anything from people.
She gives her the literal blankest stare, just the flattest look that you have ever seen, as she is recalling the literal point not that long ago where she and Fenkin tried to sneak off in the middle of the night. She's just just the look, just the sure Jan look, and says nothing.
After a moment, Oz puts her hand up. She's like, I didn't look. It's not my fault. Okay, I didn't. I don't know. I don't even know what we're arguing about right now. I just know I didn't do it.
She rolls her eyes, and after a few seconds, she wait, I'm sorry. I need to remember. Okay, because Nox would remember this. I forgot. What was the name of the sea creature that they fought?
Basilisk?
Not the basilisk.
The deep scion?
In all
Deep
field?
scion.
Yeah, the deep scion. Okay.
Yeah.
Deep scion.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot. I know that the dude, the blood hunter, told her, but I couldn't remember. Okay. She she raises her eyebrows at that. She has kind of an unimpressed air about her. But then she says, while we're on the topic of secrets, I must admit there is something that I didn't tell you lot.
Ooh.
Oh.
Would you like to wait for the whole party to be there to tell us?
No.
This is
Wow,
fun
okay.
time.
It's bonding time.
God.
She says, back in Allfield, I was approached by a very interesting gentleman when the rest of you had gone up for bed. Have you ever heard of a blood hunter?
History check, Ozla.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh god!
Oh god!
Oh no!
It's okay, because I mean, even if you fail it, she can tell you.
She can
Yeah.
explain. It's just like how much is she gonna know?
It's just like, how much is, how dumb is Ozla gonna seem?
The worst thing is it's a +0, so there's no chance.
Oh no!
A 3.
You have no idea. You've
never heard
What
it
is
before.
blood?
It's blood! Oh my god.
She just shakes her head. She's like,
She kind of, Nox shrugs a little bit and nods. She wasn't super, surprised to hear that, to be honest. But she puts her glass down that she was holding and she says, well, to put it very simply, and without risking alerting anyone nearby that might be listening, and she kind of takes a second to glance around
The
at the people nearby.
guy leaning up on the guy hanging up on the elk head is just like, "Mum's the word."
She looks back to Ozla and she says, a blood hunter is a member of a, shall we say, not very socially accepted order of hunters. Specifically hunters that are interested in seeking wicked creatures. Creatures that are unnatural, that are aberrations, one might say. And they have many tools at their disposal, many of which are arcane in nature, to achieve this end.
right.
Dhuur'in somewhere in the city sneezes.
Yeah, right? Well, I do not know why one was in that location at that exact time, but I do know that they were interested in the creature that we fought, the Deep Scion.
They had a name.
She nods. That is what he called it in any event. I was not aware of the nature of the creature beforehand.
I've never heard of Deep Scion.
Nor have I, but whatever it is, wherever it comes from, it is clearly of interest to this man and his order. Such that he was... Connor, are you okay?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. It's just I was thinking about Deep Science, and then like I started thinking about the song "Weird Science" by Oingo Boingo. So my brain was just like Deep Science. Microwaves and plastic chip shooting from the hip, electricity and whipping with Deep Science.
I don't have the slightest idea of what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind. Just continue.
Okay. Anyway, she so she says he was in the area because he possesses some kind of sense, some ability to track this creature and know its general whereabouts. And as it turns out, we beat him to the punch, so to say, in killing the creature before he could. But while he was not in any way upset that we had perhaps stepped on his toes, as we had done so cleanly and efficiently, he was curious about why we encountered the creature in the first place. Curious about you, in a sense.
That's fucking weird. Why was he curious about me?
Well...
Oh no, keep going, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, you're fine. Well, whether you admit it or not, Oz, the reason that we fought that creature at all is because of you.
Oz, she sort of like thinks a little bit, like she leans forwards and puts her hand on her cheek. And she sighs and runs her hand through her hair, pushing it away from her. And she goes, I don't... That was a weird one. There was just... I don't remember much from it. I was so fucking pissed off. I don't know why it wanted me, and I was so... There's just stuff that it said that triggered something, and I don't understand why. What it wants from me, or what they want from me if there's a group there. But I've got no clue. I've just been with Fenn the entire time since before. I've got no clue what's going on.
Since you left your ship, right?
Yeah.
She hums a little bit and looks like she's about to ask something, but then that she like reconsiders maybe, and kind of picks up her menu again as if she's going to go back to looking at it. And she says, well, if we encounter another one of those creatures, we will likely cross paths with the Blood Hunter as well. And I do not think there is a reason that we should cross paths as enemies if we are both united by the goal of defending ourselves against that creature or killing it for being an aberration.
So, if we see him again, we shouldn't attack him.
She sighs a little bit, and she does think of the very, very clearly possessed Drow in their party, and say, not unless he attacks one of us first.
I can get behind that.
You'll be fine. I'm harmless.
You're just a little boy, Uwu.
I'm just a little creature. I cannot help you.
As you guys say this, as you guys kind of finish up your conversation, the dwarf comes back around. Ozla, he's got a very big cup of something, and he places it before you. And as you peer inside, you look at the swirling little pseudo galaxy and the glittering star, and the glittering star is made up of the gold flakes that Shimmer Stout is so famous for. And the fruity scent kind of like wafts up into your nose, and you immediately recognize the drink that you've been waiting for oh so long.
Oh.
Both my arms and I wrap it around the tub And I just dump my head.
It's a cup. A cup. He didn't just bring you a tub of shimmer stuff.
She's just soon. Yeah, she just knocks it back in one go.
Knocks
Best as she can, at least.
And while you're drinking, the dwarf turns to you, Nox. I heard you say something you like. I heard you talking. You like cheese, eh? Look at the bottom of the menu.
Nox's ears perk up immediately, and she looks.
What you see is a food that's titled Stelrecto, and it's spelled SCHTLLRECHTO. Yeah, and essentially what it is it's kind of like a noodle dish, similar to angel hair pasta, with a melt blend of 4 different cheeses.
Perfect. She is delighted. Immediately her cat pupils widen, and she says, she holds out the menu and just like points at it because she didn't catch what it was called and neither did I. She doesn't know how to say it, neither do I. So she just points at it and says, "This one, I want that."
The dwarf nods and he's like, "All right, 10 minutes." And he takes your guys' menu as Ozla is, I'm assuming, drinking it all in one go. But Constitution saving throw, no, I'm kidding. But eventually the dwarf comes back and he's got this steaming pile of what looks like angel hair pasta with some herbs kind of sprinkled on top. There's kind of like green speckles of things, and it looks really nice, but it doesn't seem to have any cheese on it. And he sets the plate in front of you. And before you get a chance to ask where all the delicious 4-cheese blend is, you watch as he stoops under the counter and brings out 4 halves of different kinds of cheese. It's like 4 discs of cheese that have been cut in half. And he reaches over behind the counter and kind of like takes out a long knife that had been in a pot of hot water. And he picks up one of the cheese half wheels and starts to cut, and you watch as the cheese melts as it kind of drifts down, as the knife drifts down the cheese, and a huge slop of cheese lands on the plate. And he does that again with the next block of cheese, and then he does that with the next block of cheese until it's just like this bacchanalia of molten cheese on top of your plate of noodles.
It's mac and cheese.
It's mac and cheese.
She is here for it. She has the biggest eyes, like borderline like how she looked when she was on honey drugs. Like it's about that level of like excitement and joy. She's like gotten kind of low as if she like wants to pounce on it, but she's not gonna. She's just like, oh, just like hunkered down, waiting for him to be done. Watching very closely.
He gets done with like the last of the darker cheese and kind of like wipes the knife off on the noodles so you get like the most cheese possible, and kind of like collects the cheese and puts it back under the table. And he's like, "It's a dish of my own creation. I'm rather proud of it. Hope you enjoy. I'll be back to check on you in 10 minutes."
Nox is grabbing the bowl as if it is a last fleeting breath of oxygen in a drowning world. And whatever utensil is closest to her, regardless of its ability to handle the noodles, if it's a spoon or a knife, that's fine. She is taking it and she is eating.
We'll say, for posterity's sake, that there was a fork nearby. And it is gooey, it is stringy, it's everything. You know that cheese from the Goofy movie on that pizza?
Stop.
Yeah.
The exact.
You haven't seen the Goofy movie.
That exact consistency. And like
That's
as you take your first bite, You get like the sharp dwarven cheddar, you feel that taste, and then you feel like the softer, like fluffier Gouda kind of hitting you in the back there, and in the front there's kind of like almost like a pepper jack kind of tang on the very tip of your tongue, all in this one big gooey bacchanalia of cheese.
Oh my god, you're making me hungry in real life.
What?
You're making me hungry in real life. Yeah,
and I said that you've been giving us a lot of fan service lately.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry, what?
You've given us a lot of fan service lately.
Yeah, I think this counts. I'm gonna say this counts as fan service.
And a lot of fan service.
Hey!
Hey!
Not really.
In this campaign.
I live in
he almost dies every episode.
I mean,
so.
you had a chance to give Fen a lot of service, but you just didn't go through with it. So.
Ooh.
Hey, we don't know everything they did in that bathhouse.
All right.
So,
with Ozla enjoying her favorite drink, and Nox digging into what I assume is her new favorite meal.
Yes.
You two spend the rest of the evening talking, reminiscing, enjoying a quiet moment after a long series of strange occurrences. And with that, we'll leave off today's game.
What? Where's
Wait,
everybody else?
Yeah,